when we greet another person, we need to greet them with the respect one would give a deity, in that God is within them. My family was Quakers. I would say the best of my understanding is that we became convinced friends about 150 years ago. Prior to that, being good Scots, we were Presbyterian. And so in my family, one of the brothers who came over there, one of their siblings, was convinced by a traveling minister, Quaker minister, and so that particular branch became convinced and decided to become Quakers. So I have my older than 150-year relatives buried in the old Presbyterian cemetery, which is up the street, and the rest of my family is buried in back of this meeting, the Hicksite meeting. So, to my knowledge, we were Hicksite Quakers. I do not know if we were Orthodox Friends and then became convinced in the Hicksite belief system. So, I'm pretty much steeped in this. One of my cousins came here. I came here as a child. This meeting used to be filled with friends. Many of my relatives, such as my father, my aunt, my uncle, my grandparents, all came to this meeting. Their cousins, who lived not far from here, also came to this meeting. Growing up here as a child was a fun experience for me. My sister and brother also came. My cousins, friends who were capital F friends and lowercase friends of my parents came. A lot of those people were from what's called the back neck here in Greenwich, the more rural, if you can get more rural than Greenwich area, 2 or 3 miles from here. My aunt was one of the school teachers, and her name was Eleanor Erbaugh. Another person, Judy Davies, was also one of the teachers. We had different ones come in that were all members of our meeting. And by profession, for instance, my aunt was a kindergarten teacher. So we used to have a sand table on the other side, and I remember having flannel boards. That was before computers. And so we would put the stories of the Bible up on the flannel board with cutout characters and the flannel backing, of course, to hold them. And once in a while, I would go to quarterly meeting events. It was long before tri-quarter, but we would get together with other meetings and have quarterly meeting events. So it was interesting and it was fun, and I learned to discern what I believed and was allowed to do that discernment instead of kind of rote religious process. So that when I was 10 years old, I decided I wanted to go to the Baptist church because they had Baptist youth foundation, and my friends that were Baptists all went there. Many kids in Greenwich did. So I went to the Baptist church and found that during the minister's homily, I kept wanting to stand and give a thought that I had, which is not appropriate in a Baptist church. So eventually, by the time I was 12, I decided I really needed to go back to Quakerism because there were lots of things I didn't agree with and had no way to express it appropriately in that venue. So then I came back to Quakerism, and have felt the freedom of Quakerism ever since, that one is not censored for one's belief. If friends have a disagreement, they may provide their point of view, but it's with respect. And as a young woman at the time, it was a breath of fresh air. I can tell you what a Quaker is to me as I practice Quakerism. I would probably not say this is the dogma of Quakerism, since we don't have dogma. So I can't really say to you what do all people believe Quakerism is, those that are Quakers. But what I can tell you is that we strive to practice nonviolence. We believe that there's that of God in all people, and as such, when we greet another person, we need to greet them with the respect one would give a deity, in that God is within them. And so, not to genuflect or to worship or anything like that, but with the reverence of that of God within me is respectful of that of God within you. We have a tenet of simplicity, which I personally have found very useful in my life. It's a part of my core belief system, which has made me care very much less about what Joneses might be doing. And to find contentment in what I have, as opposed to what people might think I should have based on what they have. So I also believe in equality. Quakers believe in equality. We do not have a real hierarchy, although there are different people that have leadership roles, such as I am the clerk of this meeting, and as the clerk of this meeting, as one of our members, Paul Summers, pointed out, I am the servant of this meeting, because clerkship, the word, means the servant of the meeting. As such, I conduct the business and put the agenda together for the business meeting, and keep track of what our personal Greenwich Friends traditions might be in terms of intergenerational get-togethers and things like that. I tend to feel as though while there are no outward signs of Christian dogmas, such as crosses or pictures or things like that, that there still is ritual within Quakerism. The ritual is that we do not have pictures and crosses and outward signs. We come at an appointed time and sit down in the East Coast, which we are. It is an unprogrammed meeting, so there is no minister. We come to sit and listen to the still small voice within us, to hear God's word. We practice meditation. Meditation is not that different than prayer. It's focused, especially silent prayer. One is focused on whatever God determines we should be focused on at that time. And in meditating upon it, we oftentimes come up with similar expressions throughout meeting. I have been part of a gathered meeting where the entire body has been focused on the same issue unknowingly. I believe that teaching our children the Quaker viewpoints of that of God and each other, equality among all people, due to the fact that there's that of God in each person, although sometimes it's harder to find it, but it doesn't mean it's not there. That children need to know the love of others, and there is another way to solve differences without violence, and that we should seek that, always seek for a peaceful means of discourse and coming to an agreeable solution. I've heard it said that Quakers may move at glacial speed. I think that means something different now with climate warming than it did prior to that. But what that means is that we don't rush off and make a decision quickly. We're just as likely, if we cannot come to a decision during a business meeting, to just table it and ask each one to reflect on it throughout the month, and we'll bring it up at the next meeting. So it is not, and it's not limited to a particular religious viewpoint in terms of some of the meetings in our quarter are what we would call Christocentric. There's much more discussion of the Bible and Jesus' teachings in their regular meetings. Others are not as Christocentric, but look to other spiritual insights in addition to Christ and his message. Which brings me to another point, which is that I like to say Quakers look to Jesus' teachings. What did Jesus say when he was alive? What did he teach us? What did he want us to know? As being the most important part, as opposed to how he got here and how he left. So we center on Christ's message, and we believe that people are born basically good with capacity for evil, as opposed to being born in sin with capacity for redemption. Thus, baptism is not as important an event for us. We do not practice baptism as it is for other Christians who have the philosophy of born in sin and strive for redemption. I think that coming to a Quaker meeting as a family is a really important part of it. I do bring 7 of my 10 grandchildren to meeting with me, and I am their Sunday school teacher. What I want to instill in my grandchildren is a fond memories of what it's like when to come to our meeting. I want them to remember it as a place of fun, a place of abiding love, and all my grandchildren feel loved by the members of our meeting. My grandchildren go and sit with a grown-up when we come in for worship, because grown-ups like to have little people with them. And the children need to learn the fellowship of being with an older person. It helps intergenerationally. My grandchildren have grandparents. Not all children are fortunate enough to have grandparents that live close by, even though they may have grandparents. So I think it's very important, as it was to me, to view the older people in my personal family. I learned a lot about growing older from them, how they did it, maintaining their dignity, aging with grace. And so I think it's very important that children see and become comfortable with intergenerational communion and worship. This may seem a little strange, but what I find particularly wonderful about Quakerism is how we say goodbye to those who have just passed. We do not focus on the sorrow. If there's someone that you loved and they left, one would naturally feel sorrow. We focus on the person's life. So in a Quaker memorial service, which is the way we normally do it, it is a celebration of the person's life. It is with laughter often. I can't remember going to Quaker memorial service where there was not laughter. As the clerk, I encourage those that come, because not everyone that comes to a Quaker memorial service is a Quaker. I set the ground for what expectations are so that they know it's okay to tell a funny story. It's okay to have a serious reflection. It's okay to be sad and say you're sad. But in joining, as I tell people who come to a Quaker memorial service that I'm conducting, that each of us knows a piece of that person, but no one knows all about that person. And that's what we are each here to contribute, our little piece of knowledge about this person, and which involves, as life does, laughter, sorrow, seriousness, smiles. And in so doing, we begin by telling our story about the individual that we loved, which is why we're here. We begin the healing process for the family as well as for each other. And I have never experienced a Quaker memorial service where people don't feel better at the end, where their spirits are lighter. There's smiles on many people's faces. And then if there is an after refreshment time, that kind of laughter and talking continues. So to me, that's one of the wonderful parts, is how we say goodbye.